Fafford sent me some information asking how our leveling was come along, and I said, I've got a 110. At that time, I was under 800 gear score. And he goes, it's okay, we'll carry you. And I was like, yeah, with that sort of score, yeah. And I was like, Dex isn't ready. He's been real busy. He hasn't been able to get it, besides the problem you're having with the with leveling the mage. You hadn't had the time to level yet.
Well, okay, I'm going to be honest, though. I mean, it wasn't all not having the time. I mean, I was playing a mage, which I mentioned the difficulty I was having with that.
Splat.
Well, and if you add to that constantly fighting the nausea of playing an alliance, I mean, it was pretty rough on me. I mean, I threw up in my mouth a couple of times, I have to admit. It was rough.
You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast with Dex and Mac. I got mouths to feed, so let's get this thing started. Time is money, friend.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Azeroth. You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast, your guide to making gold in World of Warcraft. This is episode 47. I'm your host, Dex, coming to you from Napa, California. With me on Skype is a man who is so old he remembers when water was free and you had to pay for porn. My co-host Mac from Anchorage, Alaska. How you doing, Mac?
I remember the old joke. When I blow $1 on a bottle of water, I get Perrier. But
you remember those 900 numbers where it was like half your paycheck was gone before you know it?
No, that was CompuServe.
CompuServe. Oh, my God. Most of the people listening to us probably don't remember when you had to pay for your internet service hourly.
Yes, I remember.
It was...
But they didn't have all the kids on. Not that that's a bad thing, but...
It's like, okay, you could spend a couple hours in the chat room, or you could go to the strip club, and it would cost you about the same amount of money. So.
But way back in the day, you could spend $30. You could spend $30 a month to only cost $1 an hour in the chat room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It's not lost on me the fact that we recently discovered, or at least I did, that we have a larger female contingent than I believed was true, and we start right off the bat with a joke that's not very female friendly, and we're talking about strip clubs, and I blame you.
Yeah.
I blame you. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, normally by myself, I'm a pretty mellow guy. I don't go into all that.
You would never come up with any of this stuff on your own.
There's no way. If anybody ever listened to that show that will never see the light of day, where I was recording by myself, they'd understand that I'm
choir boy, Halo. Yeah.
I'm pretty mellow. It was
yeah. Anybody who's listened for any length of time, anyway. So.
Well, if you were listening to this right after it got published, I'm going to guess that you're listening to it on Monday, day after Father's Day, because we're recording this on Saturday night, and Father's Day is tomorrow, and I'm not planning on spending Father's Day doing a bunch of editing, so we're probably
what's a father to do,
We're probably going to be looking at a Monday night publishing or so forth. I'm actually going to have all my kids are going to be over. My son's coming out, and my younger sons, of course, will be here. And my daughter, who's 11, is going to be cooking a huge dinner for me. She doesn't want any help. She wants to do it all on her own. And anybody who'd met her would realize, yes, she can pull it off. So she says she's making a dinner for me with all my favorites. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I already called the fire department and increased my fire insurance and everything. So we are good to go on that. And
you're letting her play with charcoal.
So how are you going to spend Father's Day?
I'll be working. Well, I've actually the last few weeks I've had to come in on my day off. Normally I have a 3-day weekend, and it's been 2 days the last couple of weeks. They're pushing to get me that CDL. So.
Yeah. Oh well. Are you planning to do anything with your daughters later at a later date, or anything going on?
No, they've got families of their own. They've got their own hubbies whose kids will be playing Father Day things with them. So,
right.
Nah, I'll let them do their thing. They'll call maybe. No, they'll call.
Well, I'm not completely familiar with this for obvious reasons, but you probably know the answer to this in your situation. Is there Grandfather's Day?
No, not really.
No. I haven't heard of it. I think there's a Grandparents' Day. Not positive about that, but most people, our listeners included, probably really think of you more as a grandpa than a dad anyway. I'm the one who's got young ones at home and everything. You got grandkids that age, so
that was just because one of us decided they didn't want to be chasing their children's new boyfriends at 80 years old. So I decided I opted to have my kids and be done with it, not restart, another 15 years later.
Listen, I have a 32-year-old son who will hunt down any boy who gives my daughter any trouble. All right. So, and he's young enough that he can still do it, and he's every bit as big as I am, so it's not going to be a problem for him. He'll take care of it with great prejudice, I'm sure. So I think I'm covered there. I honestly don't know how you did it. I understand why you would never go through it again, because you actually went through raising daughters in Alaska, and I have to say, I absolutely nothing against your daughters. I love your daughters to death, and I remember they're still little kids to me. They'll always be like little kids to me, but I just cannot imagine raising daughters in a let's just say a male-weighted state like Alaska. It's like you had to have like a cocked gun in your hand all the time.
I think I remember junior high when I late at night on it was summer break for school, and I heard some noise, and it doesn't get dark here till 12 o'clock, 12 a.m. or so in the summertime.
Right.
It's about 11 p.m. I heard some noise from one of my daughter's rooms. It was from the side of the house. And I kind of walked out the front door, went around the side of the house, and there was this boy in there leaning in my daughter's window talking to her. Like, hey! I knew I was going to have trouble from that point on.
Wait a minute. Did you yell from a distance?
I was coming up, and they're, hey!
Oh, I would have as quietly as possible cuddled up right next to him.
Well, see, before
I made a sound.
I'm more frightening from a distance. As I get closer, they're in 7th grade. They're more towards my height.
I would have snuck up behind him, and I would have very calmly said, "So, how do you think this is going to work out for you?" And then I would have got a mop to clean up the mess, because I think there would definitely be one. Oh man. Yeah, see, I'm not ready for that. My daughter's 11. I am so not ready for that. And I know you're going to give me so much crap when it all happens, but
oh
man.
My word,
not ready for that. But anyway, so that's Father's Day for me. My parents are coming out too, so I'll be able to spend Father's Day with my father as well. And my mother wants to see my daughter cooking this big meal. She's dying to probably step in and interfere and try to take over.
Just stream it live. There you go.
Yeah,
that's a thing these days, right?
Yeah, so I've heard. But so how was your week this week?
It's been pretty good. Like I said, at work they're getting itchy to have me pass my Class A CDL, so they're giving me stick time in the Kenworth every chance they get.
Where I grew up, getting stick time meant something completely different, I'm certain.
Well, yeah, but yeah. Well, anyways, I won't go there.
I'm just saying, I grew up in the Bay Area, California, so getting stick time means something completely different here.
Smart Alec. All right. Yeah.
I just anyway. Oh,
it's a little different shifting in the bigger trucks than the little car and pickup. So
yeah, they got you parallel parking and everything.
Yeah. Who'd have thought? Parallel parking a semi. Really?
I thought you were putting me on about that when you told me.
I thought they were messing with me when they, it's like, when I was an aircraft mechanic in the Navy, and one of the guys, asked you to go out and get a can of prop wash. They're messing with you. And so I thought when they were talking, we're gonna have to practice parallel parking, and it was like, oh yeah, right. No, it's here. Look, it's in the CDL book, and it's like I looked at it, it's like, oh, it is. I have to parallel park this stupid thing.
I was gonna say, I still think they were messing with you, but anyway.
No, it's in the book. I've seen it. Anyway. So.
Oh boy. So you were doing a little bit of prep work this week in the game, I understand.
We are. Or I did. We had Lion's Pride Tavern invited you and I a couple weeks ago to go on a raid with them.
Right.
And so I knew I didn't have any 110s on the Alliance side. They're an Alliance side podcast. So right. I was like, I'll level an Alliance tune and go along with them. And the quickest way I knew to get to 110 was to level a Demon Hunter. Now, problem number one is I'm not good with the Demon Hunter. I didn't really play one a lot this expansion, so I wasn't thinking it through in one way where I've got to go over and I've actually got to perform when I get in the raid.
Hey, I'm under geared. I'll play a melee because I'm under geared. Yeah.
Well, so I started leveling him, and then then in my brain it's like, well, I've got a bunch of 90s. If I can get them through Drainer really quickly, I can maybe get another 110 up there,
right?
Relatively soon. So. The only problem is in Drainer, I didn't have my Drainer flying.
Right.
So I started doing when this whole thing started, I started doing the questing to get my flying so I could get through the quest in Drainer a little quicker.
Right.
And it's you've got to get reputation revered on 3 of the factions. And it takes about 4 or 5 weeks if you do it daily to get all the factions up and do all these quests daily. And I got down to where I had 1 faction left, and it was still going to be another 2 or 3 weeks to get it done.
Right.
I was like, So they have the Medallion of the Legion from Drainer, which gives you can buy those on the auction house. And it gives you 1,000 plus faction with every faction in the Drainer expansion.
Right.
And it was like, I need like 20 more of them for this faction. And for anybody who's going out in Drainer, that is a really, really good way to make gold if you're able to get those and just flying through there, the rare elite mobs in the zones. Because those little buggers are selling for anywhere between 10 to 20K in the auction house.
Oh, man. Back in the day when I brought mine up and got my my Drainer flying, I bought my way the whole way. I mean, I bought a whole ton of those. So
were they still going for that amount? I mean, it's like,
how much did you pay?
About between 10 to 20K a pop.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and I spent about 200 and some odd K just getting my flying this week. Anyway, so now it'll be quicker to level another tune, so I'm not playing this Demon Hunter all the time. But anyways,
But you know what? Really, for the amount of time that it takes to bring it up organically, if you think about, how I can make spend that back. Time, it's actually a bargain to pay for it. At least it was that way to me. I mean, once I had flying, I could make a lot of gold.
Oh, sure. And now that I have flying in Drainer, I can kill the mobs that drop these things and then put them back in the auction house.
You can be on the other end of the transaction, right?
Yeah, Medallion of Legion, if you guys want to make some gold, there's some really, really good gold with that. How was your week?
Oh, man, my week has been crazy around here. Unfortunately, not in a World of Warcraft way. Not like what you've been dealing with that, but I did play around with my mage. The only character that I had that was anywhere near level 110 was my level 100 mage that I had no gear on, and I can't play a mage worth of crap. So, I'm kind of staring in the face of, okay, I can play probably the class that I am the worst at playing, under-geared, in a raid that I have no business in, that I have, of course, I've already set them up to understand just how horrible I'm going to be. I don't think I've set the bar very high, but even with that, I think expectations would be too high for how I would be performing as a mage. So as I'm going through and I'm doing the Legion stuff, because this character's never even set foot in Legion, nothing.
Well, on a side note, when you're talking about that, they did make a suggestion that you and I have enough gold that we could faction change some of our 110s and bring them over and do that.
Because we have enough gold to do it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're being technical, I mean, how many people do they have in their raid team? Because I think I could actually pay to have all of them faction change over to Horde. And then as an added bonus, they could be playing somebody that, they could tell their parents about proudly and not have to worry about. Yeah, it's so nice to be able to come out of the closet and just be able to say, you know what, I'm proud, I'm Horde now, and and it's no way to live, being Alliance and just having to hide it from your loved ones like that. So anyway, so let me just put that out there. I don't think it'll cost that much for me to faction change all of them over to Horde, and then I can just play my honor. No. Anyway, before certain people that from the Lion's Pride Tavern that might listen to our podcast before they panic, that's a joke. You're not gonna see the guild announce, "Hey, we're changing over to Horde," Anyway, but while preparing for the show, as a matter of fact, Mac and I were talking, and I said, I'm just really hitting my head up against a wall with this mage. It is not working out, and I'm really good at playing a hunter. I like playing a frost DK. I like I somewhat enjoy playing a warrior, as long as I'm not tanking. So, I'm kind of looking at a couple of other classes that I would be more comfortable playing, where at least I would understand the rotation and I wouldn't be really trying to learn from scratch how to play, because my mage, I only used to farm old content. So, Arcane Explosion and you're good, right? So what we talked about, and I'm thinking about doing, is just taking some of that Blizzard Bucks balance that I have and boost a character to 100, and then take them through Legion with heirlooms, and just pop them right up to 110, and bring a hunter up, or bring a frost DK up, or something like that. So that's where I'm kind of leaning right now, and plus it's funnier when a hunter screws up the raid. It's much funnier than any other class, and half the raid expects it anyway. So there's that. But but anyway, that's what I'm looking at there. But I'm dying to hear about how this raid actually turned out, because obviously I wasn't there. I didn't have a 110. Why don't you tell us how this thing went?
Fafford sent me some information asking how our leveling has come along, and I said I've got a 110. At that time, I was under 800 gear score, and he goes, "Oh, it's okay, we'll carry you." And I was like, "Yeah, with that sort of score, yeah." And I was like, Dex isn't ready. He's been real busy. He hasn't been able to get it. Besides the problem you're having with the with leveling the mage, you hadn't had the time to level yet.
Well, okay, I'm going to be honest, though. I mean, it wasn't all not having the time. I mean, I was playing a mage, which I mentioned the difficulty I was having with that.
Splat.
Well, and if you add to that constantly fighting the nausea of playing an Alliance, I mean, it was pretty rough on me. I mean, I threw up in my mouth a couple of times, I have to admit. It was rough. But anyway, go.
Anyway, so I said, I can join you this week, so and then we'll get Dex in here, as soon as he can get there. So we set it up, and so now I've on my other on the Horde side, I've spent 200 something K, and so I was trying to level my character, get all of the all of the enchants and the gems and everything. And by raid time yesterday, I was able to get up to like 840 gear score, which still is cruddy.
Right.
And my misunderstanding is I thought they were doing it on Fridays. They did their regular raid, and on Saturday they did the heroic. At least that was my understanding, and I was wrong.
Right.
So they're trying to get the ahead of the curve achievement for finishing the. They were doing last night was heroic Gul'dan. I think I've been in, besides old content, I've been in like 1 or 2 raids maybe in the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And I don't know the mechanics. And when I get in there last night, I find out we're doing heroic Gul'dan. It's like I don't know the mechanics for the regular one.
Right.
And they streamed it. It's actually on YouTube.
I watched select portions of it. It was very entertaining.
At one point, they were trying to explain the mechanics to one of the fight, and I told them I was mechanically challenged.
Right.
But yeah,
I did catch the part where one of the guys, I forget what his name was, but he asked you what your gear score was, and when you told him, I think he thought you were joking, but I think he said something to the effect of, "Oh, good gravy."
Yeah, I think he put his hand over his mic and went over, "What the hell? We're trying to get an achievement. You're dragging him along."
Anyway,
so yeah, we went into the raid. It was a lot of fun. I learned the mechanics as the fight went along, and my problem was a lot of the time they were shouting out mechanics for the ranged. Well, I'm melee, I'm supposed to be up front, so I'm trying to. They're telling go to the left, go to the right, and I'm running to the left and running to the right, and people that are watching the video are going, "Why in the hell is the demon hunter running with the ranged?" You know. And then I'm getting hit with all sorts of crap. I was standing in the fire getting hit by the fire.
Right.
I dirt napped so many times.
I saw one of the times that you went.
I'm just going to find it. I was like the special needs raider yesterday. I think they told me to stand in the corner and look at Lynch or something while they were taking care of everything. Yeah.
Well, I remember when the instructions for the raid were going out, and you were very quiet during that time. And I fully expected after all of the instructions went out for you to go, "Wait, what?"
Well, I was thinking that in my head, but I don't want to, in a raid, I don't want to interrupt, the raid leader, just like...
by all means, don't interrupt and say, "I have no frickin' idea what I'm supposed to do." Don't interrupt and do that,
Well, I remember in old raids before we had voice chat, when they were typing, if a bunch of people were typing, it got really confusing.
Right.
So I try to follow along, and I figured I wasn't... If I was laying down dead somewhere on the map, I wasn't going to be causing any problem for the raid anyways.
Yeah.
At the end of the raid, they did say I was able to out DPS the healers.
Really? That's amazing to me. I don't think you really had to worry about, if you were talking too much during the raid, because I'm quite certain they had a mute Mac button. I know I would. They'll definitely have a mute Dex button, and if they don't, they'll stop the raid and make one halfway through. I figure. Oh,
it was fun. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. They carried it again. They had the stream yesterday on Friday night. That's on YouTube. You can go to Lions Pride Tavern live stream.
Did you get any gear? You get any gear, John?
No, it was kind of funny at the very end that I got gold.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that, but I didn't watch. It was like 2.5 hours long, and so I was trying to skim through and kind of watch for points to where you were shown with 0 health, because I figured that would be a good moment to see what happened. But no, I didn't catch the entire thing. But I thought maybe you got loot from another boss, or did you only do the one boss?
We did the one boss. We got the achievement for ahead of the curve for
Now, what is that achievement ahead of the curve? What does that mean?
Before the Tomb of Sargeras comes out, as of Tuesday, you can't get that achievement anymore for this raid, is my understanding.
Okay.
For this heroic raid, so we were able to complete it in a timely manner, I guess.
So it's like reaching a certain level before other content comes out?
Before other content comes out, correct.
Okay.
So, anyways, after the fact, they went out and they did a couple mythics, and they split the groups up and invited me to come along and carried me through a couple mythics. And I did get a couple pieces of gear. They were like, "Oh, here, I don't need this. I don't need this."
Here's what I'm picturing. As a piece of loot drops, and there's got to be at least one smart ass in the raid that says, "So, Mac, is that an upgrade?" It's like, are you kidding? No, only by like 100 points. It's Although then they're gluttons for punishment, so they invited me to come in today, right?
And raid. They do a raid on Saturday as well. So actually invited me to come back next week again as well. So
that's funny. I was actually on YouTube and it popped up under my suggestions and it was live, and I double clicked on it and I was like, oh, Mac's there again. So
they actually had room in the raid. And Mrs. Mac got home. She was out doing some stuff. She got home and got on the computer downstairs and was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm raiding with the folks at Lion's Pride Tavern." And she was, "Well, is there any room?" And I was like, "I don't know. Last night we were pretty full. I thought we were full today." And I asked, and they said, "I'll send me the invite." So actually, she came along with us.
Right.
So there were two of us.
Her tunes are all Alliance, though.
Right. And geared better than mine, still not up to the raid specs, and she's never raided either. So So there were two of us dirt napping. But yeah, we did the Heroic Halls of Valor. Got that achievement today.
Cool.
I was very little help.
Well, you didn't need to say that. That was quite obvious. But so anyway, so it sounds like you had a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun.
I am going to I'm going to do my best to put some time in, and I'll get a hunter up to 110. And I don't know. I mean, send me suggestions for what race I should do in Alliance. I'm going to need help from everybody. Let me know what you think I should play, and send me some name ideas, because I mean, what do people name Alliance characters? I just like
lunch. You can make a gnome. Gnome hunter. They have the little mechanical.
Yeah, gnome hunter. I mean, because I want to make a goblin hunter, but I'm not going to be able to do that and play with them. But
you can make gnomes; they're about the same size.
Don't you dare say that gnomes and goblins are the same thing. I will shoot.
No, I just said they're about the same size.
Well, okay. All right.
Snack size.
Yeah, I could say the same thing for you and a third grader too, but I mean, there's a little bit of a difference there. So. Anyway, well, if we're done talking about how you dragged down Lion's Pride Tavern while they're attempting to do a raid, we can move on to we had one of our listeners, Rivenstar, contacted us to say that she's been enjoying quite a bit of success making gold, and but that elation was a little bit tempered by the sticker shock of the new heirloom, upgrades that we talked about last week. They went live, and we didn't know how much they were going to be at the time, because obviously it wasn't out yet, so nothing was official. We had an idea, but it wasn't official yet. And so as it turns out, and as Rivenstar pointed out, she said that $30K for a set of leveling heirloom gear, the ones that give you an experience boost, and that when you multiply that by all the different sets, it adds up to nice big chunk of change. And I have to say, if you're looking at that and you're thinking, I need to upgrade this, I have a couple of vaults I want to bring up, and you're thinking, every one of them I'm going to have to get a different set for, because this one's plate and this one's leather and this one's cloth. You're really not going to be 100 to 110 for very long. What, maybe a week, if that. My advice, if you're really hurting for gold and you don't want to have that much of an outlay, get the cloth set. It's really not going to make that much of a difference as you're going through and leveling. If you're quest leveling, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. You're going to be kind of overpowered probably anyway. Because everybody can use the cloth, and that's a way to do it and save a little bit of gold. If you've only got one tune that you're looking to bring through, then by all means get the one the armor type that's gonna work for them. But yeah, just a little piece of advice for how you can save a little bit of gold on something you're going to use for a little while, and then you're going to take it off and have better gear. So I don't really see the value in if you're short on cash to get all of it. Anyway, moving on. A few weeks from now, we are going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary. We'll have our 1-year anniversary show. I don't know about you, Mac, but it just doesn't seem possible that we've been doing this almost a year. It seems like 5-10 years at least. No, but it's hard to believe that it
and that's just the editing time.
It's been a year. I've already renewed the website stuff, everything for our domain and all of that, because I had that in advance of when we did our first show. But so I kind of saw it coming. But we're like 3 weeks away from 1 year doing this, and we want to do something different. We want to do something special, something we haven't done before, like put together a quality show, something like that. So what I thought was, all of you, any of you that want to send your ideas in for what we should do, we'd love to hear it. Nothing's too crazy. I mean, just throw some stuff at us. If it's really nuts, but it's funny, we'll totally do it. But one of the things we're thinking about, and I know Mac's not real crazy about this idea, but we're thinking about live streaming our 1 year anniversary show. It will sound a lot different than our other shows do, because our intro music won't be there, things like that we normally edit in later. Because if we record a live show, I'm going to want to put it out just as is, with all the flub ups and everything in place, to reinforce why we don't do this.
They can't handle the raw footage.
Anybody that, I guarantee you, if we record now, I'm saying this, and now we'll have like a flawless show, which has never happened. But I guarantee you, if somebody hears us put something together live, nothing ever goes right the first time. We have a couple of mess ups in every single show, and so it'll be an eye opener, and it'll be we'll get a lot of support for the way we do the show. Hey, why don't you guys pre-record, because that's your wheelhouse, okay? And the camera's rolling for the live feed. Not a good idea. Okay, so.
I don't want to have to clean my office.
Oh man. We'll just green screen everything out, but
green screen me.
Oh man. So anyway, did you want to say anything about the 1 year anniversary show, about people sending things in? Anything you'd like to have us do?
I think we do what they don't want us to do every week.
So it's your turn to have things your way, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, my word.
Okay, so this week, what we thought about doing, we thought we'd do part 3 of our 3-part series on making gold with professions. I know if you're listening to this, you're thinking, oh, geez, these guys are already more than a half an hour into this show, and now they're getting to the topic. But in all honesty, Mac and I talked about this, and
we got nothing.
The things that we left for this show were the things that we didn't want to do in show 1 and 2. I mean, basically, there's and not to say that these professions that we're going to discuss today, that there aren't ways to make gold with them, but most of them aren't what we're currently making gold with, or that we haven't made gold that much with lately. So we're going to do a little cursory job of going over it. Let's just call it what it is. We're going to totally phone this crap in, okay? No, seriously, we're gonna do the best we can with it. But understand that in the first two parts of this, we kind of covered the areas that we prefer to make gold, and we'll try to cover what's left with this. But this week we're going to be dealing with jewel crafting, blacksmithing, archaeology, cooking, and fishing. All right, so the first one is jewel crafting. And, as far as jewel crafting goes, marketing cut gems to raiders before, when they get new gear and so forth is always a good thing on that. Besides that, currently with jewel crafting, I kind of see crafting rings and neck pieces that still kind of sell well as a good option. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's the gems. When I was gemming up my Demon Hunter, the main gem I needed was about 8K or so on the auction house. The secondary gems that were recommended were a little less expensive, but those are decent. You can make things with jewel crafting, make obliterum with the new crafted items that you can level up to item level 900 using your obliterum and Blood of Sargeras. Make the obliterum. Become a part of the obliterum market. There's some good gold there.
Now, I don't want to talk out of school on this because I'm not positive about this, but something you should check on your realm, because this is going to be dependent on your realm, I'm sure, in your auction house. But in a lot of cases, when you're talking about enchants and gems, sometimes the current gem, the current enchant, the latest and greatest, the current expansion's version of it, can be quite pricey. And then you can look at how easy it is to make the previous version from the last expansion. And there's a market that you can go after with that. If you've got somebody who, let's say you've got an upgrade, Mac, let's say you went through a dungeon, heroic dungeon or something, and you got an upgrade. You're going to be raiding later with Lion's Pride or something, at a later date, and you're thinking, this is an upgrade, but I'm probably going to get better rather soon. And so somebody that's in a position like that might think, what, I want this item to be gemmed. I want it to be enchanted, if you're talking about enchants, but I don't think I want to spend 8K on something that I'm going to be tossing away next week or in a couple of days when I get another upgrade. So sometimes you can get the gems from the previous expansion that aren't quite as good, but you don't have to not have an item that's not gemmed. You can have a gem in there that's a little lesser, but cost you a lot less. And so that's an option, and you've got the bonus of not very many people producing those because they're on to the latest and greatest. So,
another thing they did with this expansion is you've got your two levels of your you've got your enchants that are the bindings, which are the higher level one, which are a lot more expensive, and then you've got the word of enchant your back. Binding of like agility enchant, right. And then there's the word of agility enchant, which is the lower level one. It's a lot easier to make, and that's usually about a quarter of the price or so.
Okay, well then in that case, then maybe it's not going to be advisable to do that again. I was speaking about something that I haven't done directly, so I wasn't sure. But there was a time when I made a lot of gold with jewel crafting, but it was a long time ago. Jewel crafting was my wheelhouse at one point. I was making a lot of stuff that I was disenchanting, and also dealing with some gems that I was making quite a bit on it at one point. But I've since moved on to other methods of gold making, so it's not really something I'm super familiar with.
On prospecting is another option for the rare gems if you can make more money prospecting versus just selling the raw ores. That's another option.
And something to look at whenever you're doing prospecting, you always want to look at, okay, the raw gems, the uncut gems, what are they going for, and how much competition is there for the cut gems? Because sometimes there's so much competition for cut gems, you're better off just selling the raw gems.
Selling the raw gems, right?
Yeah, and because then fellow jewel crafters are even buying them. You've got a broader audience for your product. But that's about all I've got on jewel crafting right now. The next one is blacksmithing, and the obvious thing that I would talk about blacksmithing is craftable transmog items, and you're looking at older items if you have the ore to make them. Things that people just aren't making anymore. This is mainly for somebody who has access to a miner, and if you have a blacksmith, you probably have at least another toon that's doing mining, if not the same toon, right. And so you've got a way to get the ore, but don't lose sight of the fact that there are some previous expansion crafted gear that obviously nobody wants for the stats, but it has a unique look to it, and transmog is definitely a thing, so keep that in mind.
And then the new blacksmithing mount, unlike the leather crafting mount, the blacksmithing mount is usable by anyone, and they're selling in the auction house, 40, 50K?
Yeah.
So you can make some decent amount. It is an 800 skill level, but there's gold to be made with that as well.
Since you mentioned that, it's funny. My younger brother, who also plays World of Warcraft, he really wanted to be able to make that mount, and he didn't have anybody to raid with, and he was making a decent amount of gold. He had a few million to his name, and he had tokens, and he'd paid for his account for like the next 7-8 months, and so he was looking pretty good on that, and. So he thought about it, and he decided, you know what, I'm gonna faction change, because I know people he plays primarily Alliance, and he knew somebody on that played Horde that was in a raiding guild that had a standing offer for him to go and raid with them, and he went with them, got the drop, made a whole bunch of the mounts, sold them, and came out to where he paid for his round trip of faction changing. And I thought that was pretty cool. So he
things you can do with gold,
Yeah. So once you've got the plans for that mount, of course the biggest stumbling block is getting into the raid so that you can get the drop, and then making it after that. And I know there's some competition out there now. There are quite a few people making them, and check your realm, because some realms it might not even be worth messing with.
Right. And again, another thing you can do with the blacksmithing, like we talked earlier, the obliterum, being able to bring your crafted gear up to level 900. And stack size is king. I almost fell into that trap earlier today while I was trying to get some of my gear leveled up using obliterum. Where I was looking through the auction house, and everyone was selling 1s or 2s, and these guys had 10 of them, and I went and almost clicked the purchase and went, wait a minute, and I scrolled back up, and I was like, no, I'll have to buy them in 1s, because I'll save about 15,000 gold buying it that way versus buying the stacks of 10. So I almost had an oops, but again, good way to make gold. Put them in the correct stacks. Yeah, put them in the correct stack size. even somebody who knows better almost got oops with that.
Some people just click right through. Oh, look, they've got 12 of them. That's exactly what I need. Let me get that. Yep. It happens, and
even to those of us who know better, right? I didn't do it, but I came real close.
There are people that actually see that. Oh, I'm spending more gold to do it. Yeah, but it's convenient. I'm gonna, I'm going to do that, and I think there's a little bit of OCD with that. You'll get somebody that'll be like, yeah, I got to get 3 over here and 2 over here and 5 over here. Oh, look, that one's all in one neat stack. I could do that, and I won't twitch or anything while I'm ordering things, So my wife has a bit of OCD, and I have taken advantage of that a fair amount of times, just where I will... It's let me give you an example. I'm not a beer drinker, but if I were a beer drinker, and my wife is not one who likes to see me drink very much, and which is why on nights when I'm recording the podcast and she's not home, I'm hitting the fireball like tonight. But but if with her OCD, if there was a 12-pack of beer and I drank 5 of them and left one in there, it would drive her nuts.
No, you're not doing the math. You said 12-pack and then 5.
Well, see, that's the fireball talk in there. Okay, 6-pack. Yeah, 12-pack? No, 12-pack, she would be okay with the odd number. I think she'd be like losing her mind if I drank that. But yeah, on a 6-pack, if I drank 5 and left one, it would just drive her completely nuts. Now, if I took that can and I put it upside down in the refrigerator, she would actually get the twitches. She'd start to shake because it would just, her world would not make sense. I mean, this is a woman that I drove nuts on like our second date, because when she went to the bathroom, I turned my fork at the restaurant upside down. So the rest of my place setting was perfect, but my fork was upside down, and I left it that way the whole meal, and it drove her crazy the whole time, but she couldn't say anything because it was like our second date. But so, yes, I'm an evil person. How did we get there? So moving on to archaeology. Archaeology, a couple things I want to say about that. Obviously, you've got the rare pets and the mounts that you can do on that, and pairing it up with alchemy. If you're lucky enough, which I am not, to get the Vial of the Sands recipe. I occasionally take a stab at trying to get that again, but RNG hates me. Anybody who's listened to the show knows that.
I'm still working on it, but
yeah, that one's rough. I mean, I've had so many of those frickin' jars that I've opened up with nothing in it, but what are you gonna do? But besides those, and you've got, if you want to get some of the older stuff, you can use Pandaria or Warlords of Draenor or Legion to actually do the little exchange. You have a guy.
You'll get the little crates, yeah.
Yeah. And you can turn those in, and you can get fragments of whichever one you choose. And in fact, that's the way that people do it now. I mean, almost nobody goes out into the old world and just farms it the regular way anymore. They go into the more current content and take the shortcut. It is, and I can't stress this enough, it is so much faster to do it that way.
So you get your disappointment that much quicker, yeah.
And I haven't done it yet, but I understand that there's also a quest in Legion, if you catch the quest at the right time, that you can learn and then sell.
The non-flying moose mount? I guess that one you can't sell, but...
no, I'm talking about the... what is it? What's the pet called? It's a pet.
Oh, pet. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the archaeology pet that you can get from the quest, and I'm sorry, the name's slipping my mind right now, but you have
Fireball. Yeah.
No, I actually didn't know the answer to that before I started drinking, so I can't be blamed on that.
I don't do it. Archaeology to me is like fishing is to you. I don't do a lot of archaeology. So.
Well, that's an awesome segue. So why don't we go into fishing and cooking, and we can cover those two, I think, together, because they sort of go hand in hand. And right. Also, what's nice about those is everybody knows that I hate both of them. So you're on, Mac.
Well, the fishing, there's a lot of good stuff with fishing right now. First of all, you can have the mats you can sell in the auction house to make the different feasts and things like that, the different foods. You can give them to Nami so he can
burn them.
Yeah. Well, there is one thing that's nice that's come out with this new patch when we're talking about cooking. I'll just go back and forth between cooking and fishing because they look a squirrel. With the cooking, they brought out these new things called NAMI snacks. And what these allow you to do is when you instead of just giving burnt food all the time, sometimes he'll hand you back these NAMI snacks, and they allow you to finish 5 of your orders quickly. So they're done. You just turn them in. They instantly finish 5 of them, and it's a catch-up mechanic like your work orders were in Drainer. The nice thing about the NAMI snacks is they are sellable in the auction house. Right now on Dalaran, they're selling for almost $6,000 a piece. So there's some for right now. If you're, I mean, the catch-up mechanics they're bringing into the game right now to allow you to catch up with cooking and this and that and the other thing, and making it a little more alt-friendly. This is one of the catch-up mechanics, but there's some really good gold to be made just with those NAMI snacks. The first day they came out, somebody posted on Twitter they were sold them for like $33,000 or something like that. But right now the average price on Dalaran, and you'll have to check your own server, but on Dalaran it's just about 6,000 gold.
Well, that's I mean, the only thing I really know about cooking and fishing is, I mean, besides, stat food for raiders and all of that, that obviously that's a way to make some gold. The only thing beyond that I know off the top of my head is if you want to fish in Twilight Highlands for volatile fire, that usually sells really well in the auction house. Again, check your realm, but usually you fish in the pools there.
Right, and that's used for making the
true gold.
The true gold for your Viola Sands mount.
Yeah, it's used for a few different things, but right. I'm just talking about even if you just want to sell the volatile fire in the auction house, it will always sell.
Oh yeah, and the fishing. Another thing that's nice about fishing, with the new fishing artifact, which I've done on one person. I'm not going to do it on another tune because it takes a long time. But there's people that are still want to get that fishing item. When you're fishing in Legion, the specialty lures that allow you to catch these the specialty fish, which help you level the fishing item, those are still selling decently in the auction house. You can make some decent gold on just the specialty lures that you fish up, as well as the fish. So there's still some gold to be made with fishing and with cooking, especially like I said. Right now, I mean, another week or so into this new 7.2, probably not so much, but right now those NAMI snacks, I would, instead of using them to level your cooking right now, I would sell them because the price is going to drop on those as more and more of them hit the auction house. But for the next week or so, you've got a really good window of making some decent amount of gold off those. Yeah.
Listen, I think that's going to about wrap up this week's show. I'd like to thank Schaefer Bates for his awesome work as the Goblin voice at the beginning of each show. Also, Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme music, Hot Rock, licensed under Creative Commons.
And if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can contact us at Mac, that's MAC, at GoblinGoldcast.com, or Dex, that's DEX, at GoblinGoldcast.com. If you can't reach us at our main email, we have an alternate email, MacGoblinGoldcast at gmail.com. You can contact us on Twitter, at GoblinGoldcast, or you can visit us on Facebook.
And don't forget to visit the swag store at cafepress.com/Goblin Goldcast, and you can leave us a voicemail on our website, GoblinGoldcast.com, and please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher if you listen to us there.
And we'll see you next week.
Now go make some gold.
We have new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Li Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what roles each of them played during the landing on Saturday.